Why is it that we as human beings have a tendency to compete all the time? Now, I do understand that if Tottenham is playing Liverpool, we need to compete. I mean, a relationship where the two teams are sitting down negotiating how to get most out of that game between each other, wouldn't make it really fun for you and I, right? So in sports, I get it, we need competition. But why is it that in so many relationships we are competing as well? Why is it that we go into what all of you probably know as a zero sum, where some are winning at the expense of others? I'm going to talk about success. Because negotiation is obviously a tool, a skill, and a strategy, but the only reason we are negotiating is to achieve more success. Isn't that true? Now, I just know, funny enough, that negotiation is a very crucial part of achieving success. Actually, you need it, because if you don't negotiate, you're not going to create any kind of progress, because nobody in this world is going to give you more power, more influence, more money, more time. It's something you have to negotiate. I did my absolutely first book on negotiation in 1998, and you know what? Accidentally, I reread that book about a year ago. And I had to conclude that that was the worst rubbish I ever read. And do you know what I learned by rereading that book? That negotiation as a tool, as a skill, is constantly developing. So that means what worked in the 80s are not working in 2017, and what worked in 1998 is certainly not going to work in 2017 as well. How many of you have an official negotiation strategy in your company? 2, 3 people out of 250. Do you know what? That's not even unusual. Don't feel bad. When I step into a new client and talk to the COO or CEO or whatever, I always ask this question: what's the official negotiation strategy in your corporation? And very often they look out the window and go, Now then I'm saying, do you have a communication strategy? Do you have a sales strategy? Do you have a research and development strategy? Do you have a go-to-market strategy? Do you have an HR strategy? They got all of that. They even have a budget for the next year, but they haven't got a bloody negotiation strategy. About 6 years ago, I woke up one morning and I got this weird stomach sensation. And I know for a fact it wasn't the flu, but I had this weird stomach sensation that I felt trust has fallen in the Western world. I felt that you and I trusted each other way less than we ever did before. I felt that organizations trusted each other way less than ever before. And I felt that individuals and organizations and governments had less trust in each other than ever before. I got this feeling that was so strong, so I felt I wanted to write a book about that topic. But you just can't write a book about a stomach sensation. That's very subjective, isn't it? So I teamed up with World Economic Forum in Switzerland, and they went out and did a huge study on my behalf, 20,000 people in 15 different countries. And then they came back to me and said, you know what, Mr. Jensen, unfortunately you're right. Trust has actually dropped with more than 50% over the last 10 years, and with more than 58% over the last 20 years. That is a truly disaster. And that's why I call it trust currency. Because trust is equal to financial success. Listen very carefully. If we have a very high level of trust in a relationship, our transactional cost will go down. Would you agree with me? And the profit goes up, right? If we have a low level of trust, transactional cost will go up and profit will go down. I sometimes meet people coming to me and say, negotiation is very complicated. And I said, no, I'm sorry, it's not. It's actually very simple. But human beings have a tendency to complicate things. Have you noticed today in 2017, it's not really hard to find information. It's there everywhere on the internet. But what's really hard in 2017 is filtering the information that you can utilize, right? I noticed this farmer's market, and there was this fruit stand here where there was a sign saying, here we sell cheap and good fruit. And I stopped at that fruit stand and said, that's an overload of information, isn't it? Because we don't really need to say, here we sell. I'm pretty sure if I walked up to this farmer's market stand and said I would be interested in buying some bananas, I'm sure they wouldn't say, no, we don't sell bananas, we just exhibit bananas to show how nice they are. So it's just a waste of time saying, here we sell, right? It's just confusing me as the potential buyer. And then I was thinking about something else. Why are they actually saying fruits? I can figure that out, for God's sake. They're not selling car tires or radios or something like that, so there's no need to say fruit, right? And have you ever seen anyone saying, we are selling crappy and bad fruit? So you don't have to say good either. You can just remove everything and just say cheap and the client can actually figure the rest out themselves, right? And that goes into contracts as well. And when we're negotiating, we are overloading each other with so much BS that you wouldn't believe it. And we can't cope with it as human beings. So we have to simplify the process of negotiation.